this transfer, it's on, it's off, it's on, it's off. We don't hear anything for ages. We're moving on to other targets. It's back on, it's off again, it's back on, it's been delayed. Well, it's back on once more, and hopefully for the final time. Wan-Bissaka is set to have his West Ham medical today, and I'm laughing because I can't keep a straight face anymore, and this isn't the first time I have said it, but hopefully, fingers crossed, it all goes well. Not just because I really want to see Wan-Bissaka at West Ham, but just because I'm getting a bit fed up of this transfer and just want it to be finalised one way or another. Ideally, with him, next to Tim Steidten, with Steidten awkwardly holding a West Ham shirt again, that would be good. But I'm just getting a little bit fed up of this, and I think a lot of people are. I could tell last night when the delay was announced, people were saying, right, that's it. Stuff Man U. It's unfortunate for Wan-Bissaka, but move on and go get somebody else. And that was possible at one point, according to David Ornstein. But Monday morning's news is all about 2 medicals. That's one of them. The other one is in regards to Kurt Zouma. And this one is a bit more interesting because there's been an update. There's been a tweet from a big account that covers football over there. And everybody's interpreting it differently. Some people have read it and said, oh, Zouma's failed a medical. Other people have read it and said, oh, transfer's still on then. I'll tell you word for word what it says. I'll give you my interpretation, but I'm intrigued by what you think as well, because this is perhaps a more interesting one. But first, let's go back to Wan-Bissaka, because this is the more exciting one. Because we're signing our players, it's just more exciting to sign players than it is to sell players, isn't it? I think that's fair to say. But in terms of Wan-Bissaka, you might have known the updates, but I'll give you a quick rundown. Saturday, David Ornstein, The Athletic, said deal done, 15 million. He'll be joining West Ham. This was good news. He was due to have his medical Sunday morning, it was reported, and then it was reported by more reliable sources. Actually, it's 4 o'clock on Sunday, 4 p.m. Sunday. The medical's booked in. Wan-Bissaka will be travelling to London. All is good. Deal finally done. Then yesterday evening, Sunday night, it came out actually medical delayed. There was an issue between Wan-Bissaka agreeing the terms of his payout with Manchester United. Now, these reports started to snowball a little bit with David Ornstein from The Athletic yesterday saying deal was delayed, Man U happy to keep him, but West Ham looking at alternative targets including Kieran Trippier and also Bayern Munich's Mazraoui, who Man United were trying to sign. Now, I like David Ornstein a lot. I think he's the best one, personally. I think he's the number one person for football news. He's not prolific. He's very, very accurate, I find. I think he was the one that broke Chelsea signing Neto. Certainly the first one I've seen reported. So he's very accurate, number one. Fabrizio Romano, very reliable, has really good sources when it comes to West Ham. However, I see him more as an influencer rather than an in-the-know journalist. Influencer first, if that makes sense. So anyway, Ornstein yesterday reported that. But on this case, I didn't really believe him as such. I was more on the side, well, if you see my video last night, I was confident that this would get resolved. It felt like a minor issue between Man U and Wan-Bissaka, that they'd agreed the payout, which is $5.5 million. They were just discussing how to pay it, when and how much Wan-Bissaka gets paid, because obviously naturally Man U would be paying him up over the next 12 months and Wan-Bissaka perhaps, I don't know, wants the money now, so it's all dealt with. But Man U needed this transfer to go through, arguably more than West Ham, because there were alternative targets for us. If we don't get Wan-Bissaka, it's not the end of the world. We'd still sign a right back. It's very public knowledge we have 15 million minimum to sign a right back. That's a very healthy budget in football. So if Wan-Bissaka didn't come to West Ham, we'd be okay. We've got plenty of time to go get somebody else. They just wouldn't be in for the Aston Villa game. Small issue, not a big deal. We could have moved on if we wanted to. But Man U needed to sell Wan-Bissaka, because it's been reported from day one, and I think proof's in the pudding in this one, that they needed us to sign Wan-Bissaka so they could sign Mazraoui or Bayern Munich. Well, the update on that one, well, actually, I'll give you Fabrizio Romano's update, because while other journalists have flinched on this one, he hasn't. He's just been like, Wan-Bissaka's joining West Ham. Medical delayed, so what? He's still joining West Ham. He's a very reliable source at West Ham for Fabrizio Romano, but last night at 10 o'clock he said, Wan-Bissaka will become West Ham player on Monday, no doubt. Deal will happen. Same for Mazraoui to Manchester United. And that's the key fact here, because Mazraoui as well as De Ligt have been filmed at Munich airport boarding flights to Manchester. But not only that, when they got De Ligt and the reporter sort of was able to get something out of him quickly as he was travelling into the airport, he basically said, Mazraoui's waiting for me. So De Ligt confirmed that Mazraoui is also going to Manchester, but since then there's been footage of him as well. So Mazraoui and De Ligt are headed to Manchester for their medicals today as well. But that just increases the pressure on Man U to get Wan-Bissaka out of there and get him to West Ham. So according to everybody, they're all in sync now. The Wan-Bissaka medical is on today. But I'll believe it when I see it. I won't really. If they all say that he's signed on the dotted line, we're waiting for official confirmation, that's enough for me. That's the new announcement as far as I'm concerned. When the reliable in the nose and journalists and influencers say deal done, he's signed on the dotted line, I'm okay with that. If X, Dermesh, Sean, Fabrizio, Plettenberg, Ornstein are all saying he's signed, that's good for me. Anyway, Wan-Bissaka medical, fingers crossed, fingers crossed. Kurt Zouma medical, 2 fingers crossed. Well, 4 fingers. Is that 2 or 4? It's 4 fingers, but it's 2. Anyway, it's 6 o'clock on Monday morning, forgive me. This is the update from UAEkick. And they said last night, after Kurt Zouma completed his medical examination, some matters in the contract were renegotiated due to the player's previous injury appearing during the examinations. The player returned to Britain without signing the contracts. The deal may falter. Now, how do you interpret that? I've seen people saying Zouma's failed the medical, deal is likely to fall through. I read that as, I wouldn't say past his medical, but I would read that there's issues. However, like I said, the contracts have been renegotiated. That's positive, right? It's not like they've discovered something and went, oh, whoa, we're not signing you, off you go. It's about, right, we've discovered something, so we're going to need a little bit of compensation here. Likely to be lower wages or something, or maybe not a pay-as-you-play contract. But I don't know. The contract's going to have to be reworked to reflect the risk that Shabab Al-Ali are taking in bringing Kurt Zouma in. Bit of a strange one, this one, because when I read that last night, that was my take on it, that it's still possibly going to go through. It's just going to be complicated. But my initial reaction was, well, obviously, you know, his previous injury, what was it? His previous injury appearing during the examinations. Well, obviously, that's like, I don't know, Oscar Pistorius going in a shoe shop and the person working there discovering he's actually got no feet. Well, yes, we know that. We know he's got no feet. Kurt Zouma not having any knees, the world knows that. That cannot be a surprise whatsoever. So, I'm a bit frustrated with it, actually, because it's a bit like you've agreed to sign him knowing what his injury record is like, knowing what his knees are like, get him over for a medical, and then go, hang on a minute, there's a problem here. Yes, we know that. That's why you're getting him. If he didn't have a problem, if he didn't have this injury history, you wouldn't be getting him. He'd be staying at West Ham because a fit, an 80% Kurt Zouma is a fantastic defender. You're only getting him because he's no longer an 80% Kurt Zouma. He's even more broken. That's why you're getting him for free. And that's really frustrated me, actually, that this has sort of slowed down to some extent, because we need him gone. We've signed his replacement in Todibo. Now, there is a possibility that we might sell a Gerd and then we'll be stuck. And we will be stuck with Kurt Zouma. We've made it clear to him that we want him gone. So much so, we don't even want a transfer fee. Just somebody take you away from West Ham. Club captain, now we're taking that off you as well now. We're giving that to Jared Bowen. You're no longer captain. We don't want you. It's almost like the point of no return. And I don't want Kurt Zouma back because A, I want the wages freed up, but also for Kurt Zouma, I want him to get a move away so he's got a fresh start, he can go focus on his football elsewhere. It would just be a bit embarrassing on his part if he's got to return to West Ham and play under a head coach that doesn't want him here. And it would just be a bit of a sad ending really for Kurt Zouma, because this was a good one. Him leaving West Ham, getting his financial security elsewhere. He doesn't become a hindrance to the club. He's never been a hindrance. Well, there was that obvious issue that he was a hindrance then. But in terms of performances, even though he's not been fit enough, his performances have still been acceptable. However, I think the perception is that they're not going to be next season. I think that's a fair one as well, that he's going to get worse. So we're trying to get rid of him before that happens. And I like it, because too often a player just stays at the club a little bit too long and their legacy becomes tarnished. I don't want to see that for Kurt Zouma. I want him to go as the centre-back that came in, had a big part to play in us qualifying for European football and winning a European trophy, and then he leaves. Brilliant, that's it. End of story. All done. Just another year of him not playing, picking up big wages. I think it would become a little bit sour to some extent. So he's on his way back to London by the sounds of it without signing a contract. Now that part admittedly is not good. I do wonder if maybe it's going to be a case of West Ham are going to have to do something a bit like we've been cussing Man United for not doing with Adam Wan-Bissaka. I do wonder if West Ham are maybe going to have to smooth this over a little bit, which is we pay Kurt Zouma off to some extent, maybe not all of it, but it reduces the wages that Shabab Ali have to pay Kurt Zouma, so that they think actually, even if he only plays half the games, it's worth bringing him in because West Ham are covering the other half of his wages. I do wonder if there's going to have to be a bit of a compromise here. There already was one on our part, which is free transfer. Maybe we're going to have to do a bit more, but that update, one thing I will agree, is it's not good. Whether you think he's failed a medical or that there's just a renegotiating happening because of the medical, it's either way, it is not good news. And I just hope this doesn't throw a spanner in the works for our plans, because the last few days it's been, well, Mavpanos or a Gerd may go, or both if you read one certain news outlet. They're claiming they're going to sell both of them. Don't believe it. I think one might go, but two, can't see it. But obviously we'd get one in as well. And Chalobah seems to be the main transfer target at this point. I can't see that happening if Kurt Zouma returns. Maybe we'd sell the player, but we'd still have Todibo, Zouma, Mavpanos, Odegaard, as well as Max Kilman. I think that would be our forward going into next season. Not good news. Only one person reporting this. I will say that this account is the only one reporting this news, so hopefully it's inaccurate. But it has been quiet for a few days regarding Kurt Zouma, and this was obviously the fear that he'd it's 6am Monday. This was obviously the fear that he would fail his medical. But I've got a lot of sympathy for Zouma here, because this was expected. These issues were expected. This one's on them rather than us. And this one was on Man United rather than us as well. Hey, for once, West Ham are an innocent party in these transfer negotiations. How things change. Anyway, right, so there's your updates. Fingers crossed. Wan-Bissaka does turn up. Does have a medical. Man United don't play silly beggars anymore. And this deal goes through tonight. I'll be able to do my video saying Wan-Bissaka's a West Ham fan and this is why I think he's a good signing. I'm still looking forward to doing that one. Kurt Zouma, I think we're going to get updates today. This news came out last night. You can rest be assured Sean, X, etc. are going to be contacting West Ham saying, right, come on, what's the latest? They'll get updates. They will get updates. So there'll be a lot to come on Kurt Zouma during the day as well. Anyway, that's it for me. Hope you all have a fantastic Monday. If you've enjoyed this video, please do drop a like on it by clicking thumbs up. Subscribe if you're new to Hammers Chat, and I'll catch up with you a bit later.